Okay, so welcome to today's class, and today's focus is we're going to continue with the focus on the earth, the element of the earth, and also we're going to include with this the stomach and spleen meridians, because these are part of the earth focus in traditional Chinese medicine. And so let's just start as usual in a seated position. Remember, you can either be cross-legged or sitting on your heels, whichever works for you. So once you're in that comfortable seated position, just check in that you are sitting with your back straight, the shoulders back and slightly down, and the arms and the shoulders relaxed. And then just checking in with your breath, and slowly just checking in with the state of the mind and the body in general. And today we're going to start the meditation with a focus on the abdominal area first. So just bring your awareness to that area. Notice sensations here. And then slowly inhaling 3 deep breaths at your own pace. And then returning to natural breathing. Then notice as the awareness moves up the back of your spine until you reach behind the ribs, behind the lungs, and just feeling the attention flowering out. Just notice that space between the back of your spine and the ribs, that area. Notice your lungs breathing. And then from here, taking 3 deep breaths from your abdomen, but just noticing the effect in the chest cavity. And returning to the natural breathing. And lastly, bring the awareness up the back of your head to the back of your skull, to that area, that space between the back of your skull and the back of your eyes. Just noticing sensations here. Notice if that area feels busy or tired or maybe on overdrive if you've been doing busy things. And then simply move to the 3 deep breaths. And when you finish, just connecting once again to your natural breathing. Okay, so slowly opening your eyes. Okay, so today, as I mentioned at the beginning, the focus is on also on looking at the spleen and stomach meridians, and this is connected with the theme of digestion, because both of these organs are, according to Chinese medicine, are connected with digestion. And so when we have blocks of energy, blockages of energy within our body, so the movement of energy is not happening properly, it's the stomach and the spleen which are involved in or affected by this. And so if you are having issues with digestion of food, but also they refer to digestion of mental images, and it's one of these maladies of the society now in general, that people are overloaded with images, because we are constantly looking at our phones, looking at screens, looking at the television, and this overload causes the same issues as it does with eating too much bad food, not enough balance, etc. And so by doing sequences like yin, where we're stimulating these meridians, this allows us to help with issues of physical digestion, but also this mental overstimulation of the mind, which often leads to stress and fatigue, etc. So I hope you enjoy this focus today. And we're going to start this focus with something a little bit energetic, because one of the ways to stimulate these meridians is actually the squat. So if you come off your bolster, and remember with the squat, you can always use blocks. We're going to be in this pose for 5 minutes. If at any stage you find this is too much for your knees, of course, come down, take a seat. So let me just remind you of the 2 options. So the option 1 would be to have your heels on the blocks. That's option 1. And also, experiment with bringing your feet further apart if you find this very uncomfortable. And remember, just trying to find where it's comfortable for your body. And then when you found what works for you, remember, we can simply have our hands in prayer. That's option 1. And then the other option would be sort of to round the back a little bit. And in this way, we are really relaxing the back as well. Okay, so whenever you're ready, just focusing on that relaxation. So as our body is suspended in the air, so our upper body is suspended. This is a very restorative pose, especially for the lumbar spine, because if you think about it, the whole day there's pressure on the lumbar spine. When we're sitting, when we're walking, when we're standing, and even when we are sleeping. And so this pose is really great just to give a break to the lumbar spine. It's the biggest vertebra in our spinal column, but they also bear the biggest weight. And so it's nice just to give that area a bit of a break. And then, of course, because we are opening the hips, this is also a great help for digestion. And whether we have our hands in prayer and are facing upwards or are rounding down, if we're rounding down, we're compressing the internal organs a bit. So this is a wonderful way to really encourage and stimulate those meridians, the stomach and the spleen, and so helping with any issues of digestion that you may have. So just relaxing here. You may note the feeling as well of stretch in your quadriceps. Remember also it's very good for strengthening the ankles. Focus on your breath. Notice your breath. And always, of course, focusing on relaxing. As the breath slows down, so the body relaxes, and slowly squeezing out the tension from your body. And hopefully bringing a slowing down to that perhaps mind on overdrive, maybe doing lots of things today. And then, of course, as going back to the earth element of today's class, it's also this rooting down, and the rooting down through the feet into the earth. And so from here, very slowly, just simply coming onto the seated position and very slowly stretching out your legs. And bring your hands behind you and just relax here. Just noticing how that feels. Perhaps you feel sensations in your knees, perhaps in the quadriceps, especially if you've been walking, you could feel that has been quite an intense stretch. But as long as there's no twinging, so remember always with the knees, we always have to look after the knees in yin. Because, you know, as yin is the yoga of the joints, the knee is one of the most delicate of all those joints. And so always noticing if we have, you know, a feeling of stretch along the outside of the knee, that's fine. But if it's on the inside, if it's on the front part and this part of the knee, so the front part of the knee, if that stretching or uncomfortable sensation is there, then we need to adjust. So adjusting means adapting, so it means using a block, or it could also mean slowly coming out of the pose. So always listening, especially when it's something to do with the knees, and never pushing beyond the limit of your body. So we're going to move now to another focus, which is also going to be focusing on the knees and also on the quadriceps. So this is the half saddle. So remember, the option with the half saddle always can be, variation 1 would be simply to sit on the block. This is particularly useful if you have issues with your ankle, if you don't have a lot of, if you don't have a lot of flexion with your ankle. So if you find it difficult to sit on a block or even sit on 2 blocks, you could sit on 2 blocks. Yeah? The important thing is to feel that your ankle is comfortable. And then from here, I would just suggest checking how that feels, and if that feels comfortable, we can move deeper into the position. If it doesn't feel comfortable, then we can simply stay there. If you are comfortable sitting on the mat, just be aware that it doesn't matter where your foot is. Your foot could be underneath, so you could be sitting on your heel. For some people, because of their body, it's comfortable to sit on their heel. It's not comfortable for me. You could have your foot to the side, as I have here, but I even have some students, because of the shape of their hip in their pelvis, they'll have their foot like this. So in yoga, in yin yoga, there's no right position, because this is all about your body and your unique body. So the focus is always on finding the stretch. So the stretch here is the quadriceps. And so we are sitting in this position. And if we feel a nice stretch, I feel a nice stretch because we've been walking a lot today, I could simply stay there. For others of you who would like more of a stretch, You can place a bolster behind you, and you can slowly come back until you're leaning back, lying on the bolster. And if that is accessible, then you could even come straight down onto the mat without the bolster. Okay, so moving into whatever is comfortable for you. Always, as usual, moving according to the limit of your body. So once again, as with the other pose, the first pose, working on the quadriceps, and also we have a nice stretch for the ankles. But of course, it's the other way now. And then if you like to feel a little bit of a stretch for the neck, you could let the neck hang down. I wouldn't recommend for the whole 5 minutes. But remember, bringing your head back is really great for stimulating the thyroid gland. And also a feeling of opening up the front of your chest. And then if you want to, after a while, if you're feeling comfortable, your body is opening up, you can slowly move down onto the bolster or right down onto the mat. If you're on the mat, there's a nice compression to the sacral lumbar area. But as always, moving within your limit, or should I say the limit that your body is setting you. So yin is always, it's an uncomfortable practice if you're feeling as if it's just a mild stretch. Then you need to work on looking for that slightly more intense stretch, so you feel that you're getting to what they call what one of the precursors of yin would call the Goldilocks sweet spot, really, where it's between too much and too little. And it's only you that knows where that is, simply by being quiet and listening to your body. And if you are seated, that's absolutely fine, especially if you've been walking. It's just a great stretch for the quadriceps. So you could just simply sit there and feel the front of your leg with a nice warm stretch. Okay, so slowly shift to the right hip and straighten that left leg. And relax. move the bolster away if you had a bolster, and simply lie down and relax there. And just noticing the rebound here. It could feel quite intense after the combination of the squat and the saddle, the half saddle now. But always just noticing and using this time just to connect with your body and to learn about your body. As this is also connected with the theme of the earth, so it's about grounding, it's about connecting, it's about getting out of your head. And just connecting with this body we have, the only one we have as far as we know, that we should be looking after every day, mentally, physically, and emotionally. Okay, so now if we move to a seated position and bending the left leg, the right leg behind you and the left leg straight out. And setting yourself up, and when you're ready, we can start. And here, just remembering once again, the stretch is the front of the leg, those nice quadriceps. And then also if you're moving backwards, if that feels comfortable for you, you are also getting a nice stretch to the hip flexors. So it's all connecting again with the hips. The hip flexors, those muscles that help us also to walk. And so the saddle is one of those great poses, especially for walkers and for runners. Because remember, with walking and running, we're using those muscles. We are activating, we're using them in an active way. And it's nice to work on simply strengthening and stretching, or what we call stressing, the joints. And of course that deep, at a deep cellular level. So we're getting into the connective tissue there. Remembering also the muscles also need this yin stretching, because they are 30% of our muscles is connective tissue. But different to running and walking. When we do yin, it's always slow and gentle stretching. We don't go to immediately to the ultimate limit our body can go to, even if we are flexible, because in yin it is the gravity and the weight of our body that actually does the work, together with the release of tension as the breath slows down, so the body starts to relieve tension built up. And in this case, if you've been walking or running, it's a good way just to slowly release that tension. Okay, so slowly coming up, roll onto your left hip this time, stretching out the right leg. Move the bolster away if you had a bolster behind you. And lean back, and this time actually just lie back so we can just melt into this complete relaxation. Okay, so from here, rock yourself up to a seated position. And from here, we're going to move into a seated twist. So from here, you can try, basically the idea is to have one foot either on top of the opposite knee, or if that's not accessible for you, you can just bring that foot in front of you. It's just basically to have a reference in terms of where we're turning. Okay, so we're going to start with the right foot in front of us, or the right foot on top of the opposite knee. If that's slightly accessible for you, you can also sit up on a bolster or whatever works for you. And then from here, we're simply going to move the torso in a twist to the right. And from here, we're going to stay for 5 minutes. So of course, as with everything else, I suggest moving slowly. So inhaling, and then we shift into what we could call the first expression of the twist. Don't push. especially as we're dealing with a twist in the spine, you can look over your shoulder if that's comfortable for you. Notice your breathing, and notice here that the breathing is, of course, slightly more uncomfortable. And here, of course, with this compression of the internal organs, we are also working once again with those meridians. So these are all techniques to alleviate digestion problems, bloating, any issue that comes from not eating properly. Perhaps you also notice in winter how we feel the need to eat more, to eat warmer food. So this nourishing of the body, but also ensuring that this is a balanced diet. We're not eating too much junk food. And of course the body always tells us this. So if you do overindulge, you know some techniques to relieve this imbalance in the body. So hip openers and twisting as we're doing now. And then also notice the mental activity. Hopefully it's slowing down now. And if it isn't, if it's still busy, just bring that attention to your breath. And go back to this simple technique of counting the inhale and the exhale up to 10, and then starting again. Now very slowly coming back to the front and facing forward. And let's just stay here, just noticing all the feelings of stretch on the side of your neck, on the side of your body, all those areas that we don't often stretch, those little nooks and crannies that get neglected. So just noticing them. Okay, so let's move to the other side now. So putting the left leg in front, or the left foot in front, or the left foot on top of the right knee. And then when you're ready, inhaling, and then slowly entering into that twist. Feeling also that opening of across the front of your body, especially the opening up of the shoulders, the front of the shoulders. And if you like, looking over your left shoulder. And connecting with your mind and your breath. If at any stage it feels too intense, then just bring yourself a little out of the stretch. Maybe you've gone in too deep, too quickly. And then wait for your body to invite you to move deeper. Remember always, our body is always changing. Every day it changes. Because of what we've eaten, what we've done, how much we've slept. And so every day, even if we do the same pose every day, it will always be different. Sometimes your body will feel very open. You'll notice when it's warmer, the body seems more accessible to go into poses. But of course in the winter we don't move as much. There's more tension, either because we are immobile a lot, or perhaps we do some exercise, but the body is cold, and that affects the muscles. So that's the reason why we should always be more mindful in winter when we are doing yin. Just as we go slowly into a cold swimming pool or cold ocean, just moving gently, observing the reaction, the sensations of the body. So now really slowly bring the head first round and then the rest of the torso, and we come facing forward. And just noticing the other side now. Side of the neck, across the shoulders, how it feels across the other side of the body. No judgment, simply observation. Okay, and just to waken you up, in case you're falling asleep, we're going to move now on to everybody's favorite, the dragon. So, coming onto your hands and knees, just to remind you of the two options. Remember, if we're starting with the right leg forward, the left leg is slightly back, the left knee is slightly back because it's a type of a lunge. And then from here, bringing the right foot forward. And here we could use blocks to lean our hands on. We can simply stay in this position. And we're going to be here for 3 minutes, so don't worry, it's not going to be too long. And if you find this is too much on your wrists, for example, there's too much weight, you can bring yourself up and simply bring the weight down into the front of into the front quadricep, and then you get a really nice stretch in the back hip flexors. Okay, so we're going to be here for 3 minutes. Yeah, this is 3 minutes should be a really nice opportunity for you to get a good stretch. Remember, the back leg is slightly back. The back knee isn't right underneath your hip. It's slightly forward, so we can get into that stretch. So we get the stretch in the hip flexors in the back. We also get a nice stretch. You could possibly feel it in the groin, and then of course in the quadriceps. So if you find it's too much on your wrists, you can come up and you can lean on your knees. So always going for the option where you feel a good stretch. And of course, this is the one of the most yang poses of yin, if we are up in this position. If there's any uncomfortable sensations in the knee, simply adjust, bringing your hands onto the block. Or you could also even bring the elbows down eventually. And once again, this is a nice deep hip and groin opener, as we did the first two poses at the beginning of the class. So just relaxing into it, noticing sensations, breathing into it. Remember, when you feel tension in the area, just simply breathing into that tissue, releasing that, perhaps those knots. Okay, we have just over half a minute to go. So enjoy, relax. And then very slowly push yourself away, straighten that front leg, give yourself a little bit of a stretch, bring that leg back, and then just come onto all fours, and let's just rest here for a moment. Just relaxing that back leg. Okay, so when you're ready now, let's move to the other side. So bringing the left leg forward, the left foot forward, setting up your blocks, whichever way is comfortable for you. It could be on the highest level, it could be on the second or the lowest level, whichever works for you. Remember, it's always different because we aren't symmetrical. Maybe you want to start with the high blocks and then slowly move them down. Once again, just listening, observing and learning from your body. You could also place a block at right angles. So you're leaning onto the block. Sometimes that takes away a little bit of the tension that you could feel in the back leg. So just always experimenting, finding what works best for you. And then also, if you find it too much for your wrists, remember you can shift your foot to one side and slowly come down onto your elbows, and even allow your front foot to roll to one side, and then you get even deeper into the groin stretch, the adductor muscles in the front leg. So whatever feels good for you. Remember, you don't always have to do exactly the same that you did on the one side. So the pose could be, for example, the dragon. On the one side, you could just stay up on the blocks, and on the other side, you could be down on your elbows. It just depends on how the body feels. And if the body seems to be less tense, or it seems to be more relaxed on this side, you can just listen to the body. You can just experiment, see how that feels. Okay, so very, very slowly now, coming up onto your hands and knees. Straighten that front leg out, stretch over it. And then bring it back, come on all fours. Just relaxing here for a moment. And then from here, just to relax the hips, we're going to move the hips back and then move them to the right, come forward and go in circles. And we're going to do that 3 times on the right side. So just making very slow circles with your hips. So that's the third time on the right. And then we come and stop. And then let's try that on the left side. So going backwards and then curling to the front, to the side and back. And then the second time, curling to the front and the side and the back. And the last one, curling to the front and the side and the back. Well done. Okay, so let's come lying on the back. And we're just going to end with reclining twists. If you don't feel comfortable with reclining twists, of course, the seated twists. We're only going to be doing this for 3 minutes. And today, of course, always the option is to start with the reclining twist, where we simply bring both knees onto one side. But if you'd like to try the other option, straighten the left leg out and bring the right leg across. The foot can come onto the ground or wherever feels comfortable, and just relaxing there. So the arms are stretched out. Okay, so we're going to be here for 3 minutes. So wherever you are, just feeling that stretch across the whole front of your body. You can turn and look the other direction of your knee. Noticing once again how this feels. Remember, twisting always helps to release tension in the spinal column. And of course, once again, we are working on unblocking that energy that's moving through the meridians or the channels in our body, between the stomach and the spleen, and just helping to rebalance where we have perhaps been indulging too much or overdoing the mental input. We all need moments of quiet and silence and stillness. So just reflecting on whether you have that time either early in the morning or just before you go to bed. Just being quiet. Allowing all that mental stimulation, all those mental images just to be absorbed. Because otherwise, we often end up not being able to sleep. Because the mind is still stimulated. So from here, bringing the knees to the middle of the chest, giving yourself a nice hug. And then moving to the other side, either with both knees or one knee, also for 3 minutes. Relax your arms, relax your shoulders. Relax your legs. And just feel the effect of gravity working and easing out that tension. Now very gently bringing your knees to the center and just hugging your knees to your chest. And this is another of those highly recommended poses. This is in effect the reclining version of the child's pose. So remember, if we have the knees, we can either have the knees brought against the chest, or we can open up the knees with the feet, with the toes touching. And in either position, it's very restorative for the back, and also compressing the spine, compressing the internal organs, and just relaxing, very restorative. And then from here, if you want to grab a blanket, switch off the light, get ready for the final relaxation. Get comfortable if you need a pillow. If you need a pillow for your head, a pillow for your knees, whatever you need. To relax. So just spend the first few seconds just adjusting the body, so your body feels comfortable and relaxed and you don't have to move during the relaxation. And let's just bring the attention to the abdomen just with 3 deep breaths. So inhaling, exhaling through the mouth, inhaling through the nose, exhaling, and then the last one, really big inhale, retain, and then exhale. And just notice the breath moving to all different parts of the body, relaxing. Just feel the body slowing down. And then just starting with the head, just bring your attention to that area between your ears. Just relax. Notice the soft and tenderness in that area. Relax your eyes, relax the muscles of your face. And feel the awareness moving down to the front of your chest. Notice your heartbeat, the movement of your ribs as you breathe. And then slowly down to the abdominal area. Notice sensations here. Maybe you feel physical, maybe it feels a bit physically lighter here after the compression and the twisting. And then moving down the quadriceps that have worked quite a lot today, as well as the knees. Down the shins to the ankles, also being strengthened today. Into the feet. And just feel the whole body relaxing and melting into the mat. Slowly and gently start waking up the body, moving fingers and toes. Making circles with your ankles and wrists. And then bend your elbows, bend your knees. Bring your knees towards your chest. Give yourself a nice hug here. Perhaps rock gently from side to side. Give yourself a little bit of a massage of the lumbar area. And then when you're ready, allow the knees to fall to one side and push yourself into a seated position. So well done, guys. I hope you enjoyed that. I'm thoroughly rejuvenated after that. I hope you are as well. And thank you. Have a wonderful week. And I'll see you next week. Remember, next week we have the yin-yang on Thursday. So we're combining a little bit of yang with a little bit of yin. And then, of course, on Sunday, we just have the focus on the yin classes. So take care, and any questions, let me know. Otherwise, have a wonderful week. Bye.